All right, stop your whining. No more beeps. Every now and then, I come across a piece that is so succinct and perfect in its phrasing and delivery that it actually makes me kind of sad. Yeah, I'm very self-centered. I internalize everything. But yeah, I get a little sad because I know that I could live another 100 years and never author anything so impeccably flawless. And here's the latest example of that.
I won't stand here and give you what you want. I won't offer you tears. I won't offer you trembling. Disappointments like you thrive on pain, on fear, and on the illusion of power. And I won't feed your beast. How does it feel to know the only thing you failed more miserably at than being a murderer is trying to be a rapper? Did you recently start shaving or manually pulling out your eyebrows? Did you truly think your Amazon purchase was untraceable because you used a gift card? Please describe in detail the level of anxiety you must have felt when you heard the Bearcat pull up to your family home on December 30th, 2022. If you were really smart, do you think you'd be here right now? What's it like needing this much attention just to feel real? You're terrified of being ordinary, aren't you? Do you feel anything at all? Or are you exactly what you always feared? Nothing. If you're so powerful, then why are you still hiding, defendant? You see, I'm here today as me, but who are you? Let's try to take off your mask and see. You didn't win. You just exposed yourself as the coward you are. You're a delusional, pathetic, hypochondriac loser who thought you were so much smarter than everybody else. Constantly scolding, turning your nose up to grammar mistakes, nitpicking and criticizing others. You wanted so badly to be different, to be special, to be better, to be deep, to be mysterious. You found yourself thinking you were better than everyone else, and you thought you could figure out the human psyche and see through it, all while tweaked out on heroin. Lurking in the shadows made you feel powerful because no one ever paid you any attention in the light. You thought you were exceptional, all because of a grade on a paper. You thought you were elite because your online IQ test from 2010 told you so. All of that effort just to seem important. It's desperate. There is a name for your condition, though. Your inflated ego just didn't allow you to see it. Wannabe. You act like no one could ever understand your mind, but the truth is you're basic. You're a textbook case of insecurity disguised as control. Your patterns are predictable. Your motives are shallow. You are not profound. You're pathetic. You aren't special or deep, not mysterious or exceptional. Don't ever get it twisted again. No one is scared of you today. No one is intimidated by you. No one is impressed by you. No one thinks that you are important. You orchestrated this like you thought you were God. Now look at you, begging a courtroom for scraps. You spent months preparing, and still all it took was my sister in a sheath. You work so hard to seem dangerous, but real control doesn't have to prove itself. The truth is, the scariest part about you is how painfully average you turned out to be. Let me be very clear. Don't ever try to convince yourself you mattered just because someone finally said your name out loud. I see through you. You want the truth? Here's the one you'll hate the most. If you hadn't attacked them in their sleep, in the middle of the night, like a Kaylee would have kicked your ass.
That piece of brilliance recently went viral. I'm sure many of you have already seen it. That was Alivea Goncalves, sister of murder victim Kaylee Goncalves, ripping her sister's murderer Bryan Kohberger, a pathetic Ted Bundy wannabe waste of space, a brand spanking new asshole, just before he was sentenced to live out another 60-some-odd years locked away and being little more than true crime podcast fodder. I was listening to that live while I was working, and it was the only one of the victim impact statements that made me stop what I was doing and give it the full attention that it commanded. It was so satisfying to hear someone like him be told by a woman, a young, petite Stacy with a teeny tiny voice, how predictable, unoriginal, and transparent he truly is. Now that the case is done, I've heard some folks remark on how his plea deal and refusal to make any statements will prevent the world from knowing why he killed those 4 attractive young people. Personally, I don't think we need to hear from him because, given what is already known, I think his reasons are pretty obvious. We know that he was bullied in school for having been overweight at the time, which sets up a background of abuse and trauma. We know that he followed 2 of the victims on Instagram, that being Maddie Mogan and Kaylee Goncalves, who were clearly his main targets, as the other 2 appear to have been largely incidental, and liked numerous photos. Tangent. If you're scrolling through someone's Facebook or Instagram, don't start like bombing their photos. It's creepy as hell. And if the intention is to get their attention, trust me, it won't be positive. Because that's happened to me on Instagram, and it's kind of unsettling, to be honest. Back on point. Maddie and Kaylee, I mean, they were very beautiful women. It's totally understandable for an awkward, plain Jane autist to feel a little intimidated by them. And we also know that he was about to get fired from his teaching assistant position, in part because of his stank attitude toward women in general. We also know now that he obliterated Kaylee's face during the attack, which suggests that he was focusing his rage on what he perceived to be her greatest power over him, her beauty. And we know that Olivia's blistering ass-reaming of his rank personality was so devastating that it clearly turned his pencil dick inside out, according to witnesses in the courtroom. He's just another incel. Don't overthink it. Just like Roger and Manassian before him, he was pissed off that his stiffness and that 1,000-yard stare was super off-putting and took it out on people who, through no fault of their own, made him feel invisible. That and his ego-driven desire to go Leopold and Loeb and commit the perfect murder. A plan that was blown to hell before he even left the house, since he forgot to take his DNA-covered knife sheath with him. I find incels to be both fascinating and aggravating in equal measure. Truth is, it actually frightens me how much of myself I see in losers like them. I got the autism too. I understand what it's like to feel like an alien among humans. To feel as though my development as a fully functioning, well-adjusted person is forever arrested, incomplete, deficient. I get the frustration of your brain immediately blinking off the moment someone speaks to you. I struggle daily with just finding the words to sound like a primate, and I end up turning into a tryhard who sounds like I'm on drugs or constantly performing rather than just being myself, because I genuinely don't even know what that means. I understand feeling envious towards people who don't appear to struggle with social interaction. I get that it all feels hopeless sometimes, and that no one will ever truly see through the tangled web of weirdness that is this. I understand the exhaustion of dealing with a reality that isn't designed for people like me, and how comforting it can be to indulge in fantasy and escapism. I swear, it takes so much energy and constant concentration on my part to keep both feet in the real world at all times, when it's so much easier to have one foot also walking through the perfectly crafted invention in my mind. I also understand obsession, which is ultimately a byproduct of OCD, but is super embarrassing when we become creepy from fixating on people with whom we typically don't have a snowball's chance in hell of ever getting with. I get all of that. What I don't get, and never will understand, is the arrogance and the narcissism that often comes with this way of thinking. And it requires a massive amount of narcissism to lead these freaks to lash out at total strangers, while these same fools will readily concede defeat of not being well off or anatomically correct and become blithering idiots when in the presence of their limerent objects. They convince themselves that where they fail physically, they excel intellectually, that their misery and self-induced suffering has allowed them to pierce the veil, become attuned to how the world truly works, that we women hold all the cards, and men must forever battle for the prize of penetrating a mint-conditioned vagina. I don't know. I really can't make heads or tails of their ridiculous ideology from a bunch of pseudo-cerebral twerps living in fantasy land. The point is My spectrumy brain has me in nonstop logic mode, which generally steers me away from falling down conspiracy theory rabbit holes due to their unnecessarily complicated explanations, or in some cases, overly simplistic theories that derive from taking disparate facts being unnaturally shoved together to fit a preconceived narrative that, when challenged, totally falls apart instantly. Occam's razor everything. And anyway, I don't need to be convinced that my challenges navigating life are not the fault of anyone outside of this shriveled gray blob. So why would I waste my time self-soothing with the delusion that other people, who I imagine to have no problems at all, are somehow to blame for my ineptitude? That being said, if I do have to have the tism, I am glad I'm a woman. It's true that we tend to be given more leeway with our awkwardness. These days, it's often seen as adorkable. Things have definitely changed a lot since I was a kid. Nerds were definitely not in vogue back then. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that if I was a man, I would have ended up being one of those fedora-tipping milady types. I'm not cool, okay? I never was. I don't even try to be anymore. I can always design it just right in my head, but in execution, it's just sad. And I know I'm not alone in that. So if you are one of those who struggles to connect with other people for friendship, companionship, or just someone to get groiny with, I guarantee you that you're not going to get what you want by absorbing hours of misogynist dog shit that turns you into a hateful, raging troll. And you're definitely not going to get ahead by slaughtering people in their sleep because the pretty girl in 10th grade thought you were weird. And you end up in prison with no prospects at all apart from being an unwilling pass-around party bottom. I do not endorse or any kind of assault. I'm just not going to cry about it for people like him. Just want to make that clear. You know, I really don't know where I'm going with this, so I'm just going to stop it here. If any of this resonated with you at all, I'd be very surprised if it did, then please make sure that you're subscribed and hit the notification bell so that you always catch me when I upload. And if you're so inclined, hit like to make me relevant to the algorithm. I love you all. Not really. Bye for now.